So ever since the ruling to overturn Roe v. Wade came out, we've seen the issue of abortion access become a major campaign issue, in particular for Democrats. Democrats are hoping to use this as an issue to go on the offensive against Republicans on, and we're seeing that at a number of different levels throughout the campaign trail, starting with the Senate. Obviously, we're here where we are now because of President Trump and Republicans' successful campaigning on the need to appoint conservative judges to courts across the country, as well as justices to the Supreme Court. And we are seeing President Trump's legacy play out in real time with these decisions, like the decision to overturn Roe. So now Democrats are sort of in a recalibration mode, trying to figure out which direction they go in now to somehow alleviate the impacts of the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
That something like 65% of Americans did not believe that Roe should have been overturned.
I think we're seeing a lot of Democratic incumbents and some Senate candidates, even challengers, talking about the need to do away with the filibuster, which would allow or help Democrats get a better chance of codifying Roe v. Wade through the Senate. However, we know that there's a split within the Democratic Party on how to do that, so it's unclear whether that will actually happen. We're also hearing calls from progressives for expanding the Supreme Court. We know this is something they've talked about for a while, and that would be able to give them an edge maybe during President Biden's administration when he's in office. And however, we know that President Biden and other moderates have said they're not for this action of expanding the court at this moment. But with Roe v. Wade and the decision, being taken from the federal level and being punted back to the states, we're actually seeing this probably have the biggest effect in state level races as well as local races. So for example, in states like Texas, for example, that's where we're seeing these trigger laws really go into effect immediately. And other states like Arizona, Georgia, and Michigan have laws that could go into effect soon if their legislature acts quickly, or if they were to elect a Republican attorney general. Attorneys general are starting to become very, very important campaign figures in this cycle because they have essentially the power to enforce abortion access restrictions or decide not to enforce those restrictions. In Michigan, we've heard that the attorney general there, an incumbent Democrat, has said she will not enforce the abortion restrictions that are technically on the books in that state.
I have chosen not to enforce a law that I know will affect the health, welfare, and safety of the 2.2 million women of reproductive age that call Michigan home.
However, we know that Republicans running in Michigan and other states are saying they would like to enforce those restrictions. But what's interesting when talking about Republicans about the issue of abortion is this question of, is abortion their top issue? And oftentimes they acknowledge the importance of it. They recognize that it was a victory for the conservative pro-life movement.
Today's historic Supreme Court decision is a victory for the sanctity of life. It will save countless innocent children. House Republicans are incredibly grateful for the pro-life movement's tireless efforts for decades, leading to this day to give a voice to the voiceless.
But they tend to say their top issue is actually inflation and the situation with crime. In fact, Republican attorneys general and attorneys general candidates often point to crime as being a top issue. So right now, in the immediate aftermath of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, we're seeing that abortion is a major campaign issue, that Democrats want to make it a campaign issue. This is something that could rally their base or even potentially win over some suburban or swing voters, independent voters, to vote for their candidates in the fall. However, Republicans are continuing to focus on inflation, crime, the situation at the border. So it's unclear really how big of a role abortion will play going into November. There's a long period of time, and we know that the news cycle moves fast, but one thing is for certain. We know that these legal challenges against the overturning of Roe v. Wade in a number of different states are going to potentially remain in the headlines for quite some time. So expect Democrats to really seize on those in an effort to continue to make it a big issue.